Our goal is to secure a pole position in the global scaling of batteries.
Hey, this is Warren Redlich. That was Herbert Diess, the CEO of Volkswagen. Before we get started, I want to thank the Vasa law firm in Sweden and all my Patreon supporters for helping this channel grow. Patreon link in the description below. And of course, check out the t-shirts. This is the It's Not About You t-shirt. Links to the t-shirts in the description below. And if you want, I wrote a book, Fair DUI. Link to that in the description below as well. Let's talk about Volkswagen Power Day. Are you ready? Let's go. I have mixed feelings about Volkswagen Power Day. The first thing I'll say is positive. I think Volkswagen did a pretty good job, probably the best job I've seen of any electric vehicle maker that isn't Tesla, of charting a path. The way I would put it is this. It seems like most EV makers are trying to catch up to the 2018 Tesla Model 3, and they're not there yet. The 2021 Mustang Mach-E is pretty good, but it's still significantly behind the 2018 Tesla Model 3. What Volkswagen tried to do at Power Day, it seemed like, was they set forth a path to try to catch up to where Tesla is heading, to maybe get to the 2023 Tesla version. But unfortunately, it seems like their timeline is going to take them a while. So it looked good. A lot of it looked a little bit Me Too-ish. They're trying to be like Tesla a little too much. But really, when you look at the timelines, you're going to see this as we go through. There's a lot of gaps, there's a lot of flaws, and there's a lot of really? So let's go through it, see what you think. Overall, I at least appreciate they're trying to go forward, not just to catch up to where Tesla was, but to get ahead to at least where Tesla is now, or maybe a little bit ahead of where Tesla is now. We'll see.
We will focus on one standard battery.
That sounded good. They talked about how they're going to have a unified battery for their platform. Unfortunately, they then proceeded to explain throughout Power Day that it's not really one standard battery or one unified battery. There's one unified battery for the economy vehicles. There's another unified battery for the mainstream vehicles. Then there's 3 different types of batteries that they're going to use within those. And then there's also some special vehicles that will have different batteries. So it's one unified cell, but it isn't. That's an example of how they muffed it. They had an idea, it sounds good, and then they clearly are not following that idea.
So let's get into the inside of the battery cell. That's the chemistry, basically. We do have an entry chemistry with iron phosphate. On a long-term base, we see high manganese content for the volume vehicle segment, and for specific solution, high nickel. Manganese and cobalt is important because high nickel means high range, high performance. The end game, out of our point of view, is solid state.
That bit and what you're about to see are both a little bit of that Me Too, let's copy Tesla, what they said at Battery Day. And then you're going to see here, you got to check this out. It doesn't really make sense, like particularly when they show cost for lithium iron phosphate and cost for the other chemistries. Like, what do the bars mean? Check this out.
Here we see the state-of-the-art technology. The chemistry today, typically used in all electric vehicles, is nickel, manganese, and cobalt. That defines the cost of the cell by 40%. I don't think there's any other layer into the car what defines cost that much. And also the range comes out of the cathode by 90%. Getting to LFP. LFP has a big cost advantage.
The nickel manganese cobalt one was like 40%, and the lithium iron phosphate looks like it's 80%. Isn't that more? Like, what does that bar mean? I don't understand.
A slight range disadvantage. Iron phosphate, that's LFP, comes without any cobalt, nickel, and manganese, and is a very robust technology. The cycle stability is very good. That means especially for cars with low range, this is a very promising technology.
There you have it, folks. Volkswagen is planning to make cars with low range.
High manganese cells. That's a long-term, out of our point of view, very promising technology because it's cheaper. Nickel content is lower. Nickel is quite expensive. Cobalt is too. There's no cobalt any longer in the cell. And the range is on the same stage than the cells today, the state-of-the-art technology.
That one was a little weird. He said they're going to make a high manganese cell. So are they saying there's going to have more manganese than nickel? My impression from Tesla battery day was that nickel's the key component. Are they just doing the nickel manganese cells that Tesla was talking about, where it's mostly nickel, but it's like 2/3 nickel and 1/3 manganese? Or are they pushing something else? That really wasn't clear. It didn't get the explanation it deserved, and it just looked kind of odd. Because Tesla called the regular cell a high nickel cell. They never referred to a high manganese cell. What did he mean by that? It's just kind of a little bit strange.
Let's get to the anode. As said, the anode is a control lever for charging performance. If the anode is charging, all the lithium has to go into the anode. That's why it's 100% performing the charge time, the charge performance. The anode also has a chance to improve energy density and with that range by 10%.
I'm sorry, but this is just really confusing me with these bars. So graphite is reducing the range to only 10% of the normal range, or it's adding 10%. You're going to see later when they say it's going to increase range, it actually goes over the 100%. Who designed these graphics, and did they know any math?
And that can be done by synthetic graphite plus silicon. If we get silicon into the anode, we have a better range. It's plus 10%, and the charging time performs better too, because the silicon can connect more lithium ion than just the graphite. We do have it in production. The Porsche Taycan and the Audi e-tron GT are using that already, and they are the benchmark for charging time in these days. Now I'd like to talk about solid state. Again, this is the end game for lithium-ion battery cells. The simpler design leads to higher performance and lower costs.
You remember how they said it was a unified cell, and now we've got iron phosphate, high nickel, nickel manganese. Maybe there's nickel manganese cobalt, and we've got solid state. So the unified cell is like 4 or 5 different chemistries at least. That sounds unified.
We know that we will achieve with a unified cell 80% of product portfolio. What is the base for everything? On top, the 20% can be cylindric, prismatic, or pouch.
There it is. So the unified cell can be cylindrical, prismatic, which is the big rectangle, or pouch. So the unified cell can be one of 5 different chemistries and 3 different shapes, types of cell. That doesn't sound unified. Why are you calling it the unified cell? Is this just a problem in translation from German? I don't get it. I don't think it works.
Coming to solid state, here we see that there's no graphite any longer, no liquid electrolyte. Separator is the key of success. That's containing the solid state technology, making sure that the lithium ion can go in one and the other direction. And with that, we have an improvement of weight, of cost, and of charging time. There's no barrier any longer as graphite or silicon for charging. And only the anode today in an ID3 with the biggest battery is 100 kilogram. We can get rid of that weight too. That means the charging time can be less than a half compared to state-of-the-art technology, and the range will be plus 30% because the cell has less weight, is easier and simpler.
There's another big problem here. So solid state is going to have 30% more range. 30% more than what? If it's got 30% more range than the Volkswagen ID4, that's not a lot of range, because Tesla's already going to be heading up over 500 miles of range with their new battery technology. So this is a big question with solid state, really, and they're pinning their hopes for the distant future on solid state. But this is a big question: is how much of a gain are you actually going to get from going to solid state? How much work is it going to take you to get there? He's talking about QuantumScape. QuantumScape is not going to be producing solid state batteries in any quantity for several years if they ever get there. So this is kind of an odd way to stake your future on something. You don't even know if it's going to happen. And is it even going to be better than Tesla's 4680 high nickel cells? We don't know. It doesn't sound like it if it's only 30% more range. Is it going to cost less? How much is it going to save you on cost? Can you explain how the cost savings are going to come about? Because that really wasn't detailed enough to show that solid state will save that much money. I hope it's true, because I'd like to see solid state batteries succeed. And that would, if they succeed and they really outperform the high nickel cells, that enables maybe electric VTOL and other technologies that could use that additional energy density. But this was not enough detail here, which of course, because they don't really know yet. It's probably not going to work.
I wanted to prove that with data. Here we see data from our partner QuantumScape. The solid state battery will come in now, and you see that a solid state battery, as we have it now, and a 10 to 80% is a typical charging with high performance charging. Here we are at 12 minutes already. That's a proof of concept for the technology. A standard state-of-the-art cell today is between 35 and 20 minutes.
This is actually one of the big problems with Power Day, is they're obsessed with charging. There's this perception, which I think is wrong, that people won't buy electric vehicles because it takes too long to charge. And your magic battery from the future that you'll be putting in cars maybe 5 or 6 years from now is going to get a whopping increase from 20 minutes to do 0, or I think it's 10% to 80%. It's going to change that from 20 minutes down to 12 minutes. Tesla's 4680 cell is probably also going to reduce charge time a bit. If the state of the art today is 20 minutes, the Tesla high nickel cell, or whichever cell is going to have the best charge time for Tesla, probably going to get it down to maybe 15 minutes. So you're only saving from 15 minutes to 12 minutes for the unusual circumstance where you're going from 10% to 80%, where a lot of charges, you don't need to go that much. Maybe you're doing 40 to 60 or 20 to 60. You don't necessarily need that much charge. Charge time only matters to people who don't have an EV and haven't experienced it and don't realize if you're charging in your garage every day, this really isn't going to matter.
The one size fits almost all cell design and high scales will radically reduce battery costs. In our entry segment, the unified cell will bring down battery costs by 50% compared to today.
They've got the basic concept down. You've got to get battery costs down so you can make electric vehicles less expensive, more affordable. And you've got to make batteries more effective. You've got to make them more efficient, you've got to improve battery technology to make them lighter weight, improve energy density, improve charge times. All these things are important. They've got the basic concept. But to just throw out numbers like we're going to lower battery costs 50% for the entry-level models, does that mean you're not going to lower it by 50% for the mainstream models? What is the goal here? Why are we not achieving more? How exactly are you going to do this? I appreciate the effort. I think they're going in the right direction. They really didn't explain it well, but it was a good try. There's more to come.
We are planning to operate up to 6 gigafactories with 40 gigawatt hours each across Europe on our own and in collaboration with partners.
Okay, first of all, you're actually calling them gigafactories. You're not just like vaguely copying Tesla at this point. You're just copying Tesla. Okay. But still, good idea. We got to expand battery production. We need more batteries to be able to make more vehicles. But do the math. 6 gigafactories, 40 gigawatt hours each. That's 240 gigawatt hours. You're going to see later, it's going to take them a while to get there. That's going to add up to 240 gigawatt hours. Tesla's going to be making that much at the Berlin Gigafactory probably by 2023. Wait till you see how long it's going to take Volkswagen to get to 240. If they get there.
I explained to you the first plant 23 will be Sweden. The second plant will be Salzgitter. Where will be the third and the fourth plant? You can have an idea more or less here on this picture. The third plant we like to do in Spain, in Portugal or France.
Let me get this straight. By 2027, you're going to have 4 of these plants up and running, probably. And what I cut off is 2 more that are going to be in place maybe by 2030. By 2030, Tesla is going to be making 3 terawatt hours of batteries on their own, not counting supplier batteries. You're going to be making less than 1/10 of the batteries that Tesla is going to be making. More like 1/12th? 1/15th? This is way, way behind. Way behind. You got a long, long way to go. It's not going to get better. Are you ready to see some more?
Welcome to our state-of-the-art pilot line opened 2 years ago. With around 450 employees and additional international locations, the first step is to produce the electrodes, the anode and the cathode, coated aluminium and copper foils.
Did you see how slow the equipment is moving?
The coating material is the most valuable asset in an electric vehicle and determines essential the properties for charging, power and range. Those foils have to be stacked with the separators between to make the cell stack and place it into the cell can. Here you can see the completed cell.
What you just saw was a prismatic cell. It's like a big box rather than a simple battery cell. This is, cylindrical cell, small, much smaller. This is the 4680 size. The thing he was holding is much, much bigger. Really big question whether they'll be able to manufacture those at high speed. Think about that video I just showed earlier where you could see the Tesla battery cells moving really fast. It's easier to make these at high velocity, and high velocity matters to be able to manufacture in high volume and to be able to manufacture at low cost. This is a problem.
To start in 25 means you need move ground. Here you can see our Salzgitter facility, and there you can see the new cell plant we like to do.
That may have been the worst CGI in the history of corporate presentations. Let's look at that again.
Here you can see our Salzgitter facility. And there you can...
Volkswagen, you need to hire the folks at Lucid Motors or Nikola Motors to help with your CGI and probably with your PDFs. They have the best PDF technology in the industry and you are way behind.
And the scale cost goes down. Delivering innovations to customer even faster is a part of the plan. And this will guide us to a cost leadership position in e-mobility. Robust and innovative supply chain are vital for our growth.
Why are there droids in your Power Day video? And what did they have to do with whatever that guy was saying? What are you doing?
The next step you can see here. It will be the dry coating process. The dry coating process means what? All the light ones in the background, all the single processes, you can cut off the process. That brings you to what? That brings you to a 50% decrease of production area, to a 30% decrease of investment, and to a much better CO2 balance sheet.
Dry coating? Is this supposed to be the dry battery electrode process that Tesla acquired from Maxwell when they bought Maxwell? And they have this new way of making batteries, and you didn't really say anything else anywhere in this presentation that showed you actually know how to do this. And why is it only saving you 50%? I think the Tesla approach was saving a lot more floor space. And was it the lit up parts that are going away, or was it the grayed out parts that were going away? Their graphics team, I'm telling you, you got to hire Lucid Motors. They're much better at this stuff. Guys, Volkswagen should take over Lucid Motors for their presentation and PDF technology. This could really advance things. I mean, it won't make a better car, but it would make better presentations, and that's half the game, right?
The first step will be our plant with Northvolt together in Sweden. This plant, this site will come with start of production in 23. It's also more or less tomorrow.
2023 is more or less tomorrow. I thought 2023 was 2 years from now, not more or less tomorrow. By 2023, Tesla's going to be making a ridiculous number of cells, producing a ridiculous volume of vehicles, and you're going to be so far behind, you won't be able to see their dust.
Today we have a cell-to-module system. That means the cells become a module, the module is getting into the system, and that's a battery. The next step is cell-to-pack and cell-to-car. With cell-to-pack, the cells are getting into the battery system directly. The battery system then is a complete entity and gets into the car. For cell to car, it's even further advanced. For cell to car, the cells go into the battery cabinet, and the battery system is part of the integrated mechanical design of the vehicle.
That sounded like they're going to structural pack. This is just another example. They're saying they're doing what Tesla's doing. But are they really doing what Tesla's doing? Are they really heading for structural pack? When are you heading for structural pack? Let's be clear. Tesla is heading to structural pack this year. 2021, the Model Y in Berlin and the Model Y in Texas will have structural pack. I think the Model S Plaid Plus will also have structural pack, and Cybertruck is going to have structural pack. So Tesla is heading towards all of its vehicles will probably be on structural pack maybe by 2022 or 2023. When is Volkswagen going to be on structural pack?
This is how we are developing a next generation electric car in record time, which we will present to our customers late 2024. This first model based on Artemis will also be the first one to use a new unified battery cell format. After all, the model will be highly efficient and fully suitable for long distance travel. The battery is a key to make this possible. The Artemis model will be the initial use case for the cell-to-pack technology, the group's new standard.
So they're not really doing structural pack. They're doing cell-to-pack, which is something. It's an improvement. And you know they're not really doing structural pack because they're using prismatic cells, those big boxes. Those big boxes wouldn't work with structural pack because you need the big metallic cans from the cylindrical cells because those can be used for structure because they're metal. They're stronger. The way that's designed, everything about that is going to make structural pack work, and the prismatic cells won't make that work. Cell to pack, fine, that's an improvement, but it doesn't get you to structural pack, and they're not getting anywhere close to it. And this model he's talking about that's coming from Artemis is coming in 2024. So they're going to go to cell to pack in 2024, 3 years from now. That's how far away a lot of this stuff is. 2024, all the Teslas are going to be structural pack. You're going to be more than 3 years behind in 2024. And that's the beginning. That's the beginning of when you're going to be going to cell to pack. That's your new standard is cell to pack, which misses out on all the advantages of structural pack.
So Volkswagen Anode will start production by 2023, followed by the Audi FAW NEV company with the first vehicle rolling off the production line in 2024.
So they talked about China too. They talked about a lot of things I'm not covering in this video, but they talked about China, and they're going to start producing vehicles in 2023 and 2024. That's 2 and 3 years from now. What's taken so long? You're falling behind on technology. You're falling behind on production. You got a long way to go. And the Chinese manufacturers aren't sitting still. I mean, let's talk about NIO, right? I like to make fun of NIO, but are you ready?
Our market research shows that about 50% of Chinese car buyers consider charging to be inconvenient and time-consuming. Almost 50% of potential customers consider driving range to be insufficient compared to internal combustion engine vehicles, and very important when judging about any charging infrastructure. 40% of people in China cannot install a private charging facility, meaning a wall box where they live.
Yes, they just made NIO's argument for battery swap stations. They just made the case that people should be buying NIOs for the battery swap because they won't have home charging and they're concerned about charging time. So apparently the best solution for a Chinese consumer is not to wait to 2024 to buy a Volkswagen or Audi, but to buy a NIO now because they've got these fancy battery swap stations. Hint, the battery swap station's really a bad idea anyway because of the throughput problem, but watch my other video for that.
How you can stack as fast as possible the electrodes. For that, we prepared a small film for you. Here you can see something you will recognize. Now you see it more or less what it is, and now you know it. It's money. This will be the benchmark for us to stack electrodes. We like to come to the same speed of stacking electrodes like you can see here for money.
I think at Tesla Battery Day, they may have had a video of like a bottling plant or a can plant where they bottled or canned soda or something, and they showed that this was a model to follow.
When thinking about the ideal cell factory, we have inspirations behind us. in the paper and bottling industry, where from humble beginnings, over a century of innovation has enabled mass scale, continuous motion, unbelievably low manufacturing cost.
So somehow Volkswagen thought it would make sense to do the same thing with printing money. And it really didn't look that fast anyway. Like, what was that? This thing was a mess. So look, we're done with the content from Volkswagen's Power Day. They had a lot of stuff on charging and charging infrastructure, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to build out a massive charging infrastructure if you're not going to make enough vehicles. If you manage to build a charging network that was as big as Tesla's, but you only have 1/10 as many vehicles, then they're going to be empty, like they were in 2-Bit Da Vinci's video, where he went to a charging station with the Mustang Mach-E, and there was nobody there. You're going to build out a charging infrastructure when you don't have the vehicles to use them, and you don't have the batteries to put in the vehicles to use them. Their strategy just isn't working. They've got a lot of work to do. And this is what happens, unfortunately. Now, I want to be clear. I'm being hard on Volkswagen. I do think, seriously, I think this was the best effort I've seen from any internal combustion engine manufacturer so far. Really better than Lucid, better than Nikola, better than Rivian so far. Rivian hasn't really made a presentation. But this was probably the best effort we've seen so far. And what does that say? When someone tells you the competition is coming, they're not. They're not coming. Volkswagen looks like they might actually be able to pull into the number 2 slot. They might actually be the number 2 electric vehicle maker in the world. Very good chance that somebody from China is going to come along and do better, but like NIO. But really, this is the best you got. Tesla is crushing everyone. Tesla is going to be making millions and millions of EVs. They're going to be making terawatt hours of batteries, while Volkswagen's going to struggle to make 100 gigawatt hours of batteries. This is a crushing blow that the entire car industry is getting clobbered by Tesla, because Tesla is innovating. They are rapidly iterating, they are innovating, they are thinking ahead, they are doing amazing things, and everyone else is trying to copy them. At least Volkswagen is trying to copy what Tesla is doing now and maybe the next year or so, where everybody else is trying to copy what Tesla did 3 years ago. I don't understand. It's really straightforward. They've laid out the path. It shouldn't be that hard. There have to be enough good engineers to figure this out. Single piece casting, structural pack. You can make 4680 cells. Maybe you can't do everything in the 4680 cells that they're doing, but you can try to achieve close to what they're doing. But you're not going to get there if you don't follow what they do. It's really striking how far behind everyone's falling and how many of these companies are led by people who can't see simple stuff. Battery Day was plain as day what you need to do. And at least Volkswagen, again, I want to give credit. I think Volkswagen is doing better than anyone else I've seen. It's not the joke that Lucid is. It's not the joke that Nikola is. It's not the joke that General Motors Ultium is. Ford Mustang Mach-E is not bad. I'll give him that. I'm not sure. Maybe the Mustang Mach-E is better than what Volkswagen has so far, but we're not sure if we're not sure if Ford can scale. We don't know if they really have a battery strategy that's going to allow them to get there. At least Volkswagen has a battery strategy that'll get them somewhere. That alone could secure them the number 2 spot in the industry, because nobody else seems to have a battery strategy. So it was frustrating to watch this. At first, it gave me some optimism. Really, it came down to this was a better imitation of Tesla than anybody else has done so far. And of course, at the end, they didn't have a Q&A. Why aren't you letting journalists ask questions? The answer is you're not, because you don't have answers, or because your answers are going to suck. So while it seems like I'm down on Volkswagen, I want to stress it does look like they have a really good shot to be the number 2 EV maker in the world. If they survive the bankruptcy, maybe. That's about all we got. So if you like this video, please check out my other videos. Please support this channel on Patreon. Check out my book on Amazon, Fair DUI. Links to Patreon and to the book in the links below, along with links to the t-shirt. And thank you so much for watching.